Well, the reality of God is more subtle than a scriptural story. For instance, I could say that I gave up my considerable worldly potential inheritance in order to be faithful to Mum and love and support her. But I didn't do it because I knew God. I was devoted to Mum, and it was the right thing to do, given my love of her. And of course Dad had been cast in the role of evil, bad, wrong, and as loving son I wanted to do the right thing and did. I think monotheism is simple outcome of variety of imagined gods, one being chosen as special and becoming supreme in the end. And the unity of following one God was well, the classic case was Constantine, who is represented as recognizing that one emperor, one empire, one God was the way to go, and preferably the most acceptable God, whether it was the sun god or whether it was the Christian God, or perhaps the two could be blended together, and his money, the things that counted, I suppose, his validation, had a picture of his crosses that he accepted on one side for victory, which was, sign of the god of war. El's son, Yahweh, if you like, who's been allotted to look after Israel. Israel, the people, are his inheritance, are his people, his land, his dominion. So Constantine stumbles upon a unifying view of religion. And by more recent times I find that it's very hard to hold on to money in financial crisis, and because of circumstances, marital breakup, I ended up with not enough money to effectively invest it in land. So what did I do? The most sensible thing, I invested in people. Gave it to situations that, the unjust steward who let off his master's creditors lightly, and lined himself up some security for the future in the relationship that it buys with them. And more spiritually, you could say I invested it in relationships rather than in goods or equities, and that simply shows the value system that, if you like, in religious terms, puts spiritual things above material things. And that's very good. That's the sort of essence of the Spirit of God, so to speak, that's driving the unity and the cooperation of thoughtful beings such that they overcome, and by their combined power, which is infinitely greater than the sum of the separate parts, creates a sophistication or a civilization or a technological future of life. It is bewilderingly complex and different to earlier forms. So the essence of God, the essence of, by the way, while I think of it, monotheism is not so combined to what's the Second Temple, Israelite theology, Christianity and Islam. But it's very clear in great Eastern religions like Hinduism and Buddhism of the oneness of the essence of God, or in Buddhist case the true reality, taken to extreme in Buddhism, where the oneness means that we're all simply part of this amazing complex of causation and interrelation of things that we identify as separate beings, but really is some basic oneness of all, some true reality. It's a monotheism that is greater than the concept of practiced religion, although of course it became a great religious practice that we recognize as the religion of Buddhism. But you see, the true spirit, the true reality that we do in fact worship as opposed to have lip service to, is a belief in the necessity of oneness, necessity of unification, cooperation. Our whole ethics are about how to live cooperatively, successfully, as a community, a fellowship, a brotherhood, a single family, focused on one father, one leader, or one personification of all the good qualities that have provided for and rescued us. Wisdom and truth itself. It is the essence of what is behind the creation. This somewhere between, I don't know whether to say person, principle, spirit, or essence of creativity, life, survival, being as opposed to not being, which is the cooperation between otherwise separate parts, the unity, the cooperative unity, the successful interrelationship and support of all the parts. Provides the survival, the success, the achievement, the creation, the outcome, the constancy with an ability to ever develop and improve and become more complex and thrive and live. You know, I'm come that you might have life. And life is something of that. And death is the separation from the whole. We can't survive alone. Even the body is the survival of trillions of cells in some sort of amazing cooperation. So is an economy, of course, trillions of cells that cooperate together through some economic forces that successfully do that. Matter itself presents this incredible separateness, atoms, if you like, that nonetheless hold together with others. If they didn't, if it was just a non-attraction, non-bound field, just a soup of marbles rolling around, then you could build nothing. It'd be like trying to build something with water. Doesn't have any binding strength between its parts, and therefore you can't make anything with it, is what I mean to say, I think. So successful people have religions that somehow incorporate and carry and help to unify the people. And it's unified by a sort of fundamental belief in the importance of fellowship, cooperative unity, as ideally represented by a family, but in fact represented, like in the Joseph story, by a family that's dysfunctional, nearly murders some of itself out of jealousy and consequence of favoritism by Jacob. Understandable, no doubt, if you knew Jacob's background well. And we can pick up something of that from biblical type stuff. And whether the story is anything to do with history at all, its reality, its spiritual history, is seen to be paramount in the birth of a nation, in the justification of the culture and the religion enshrines that. Whether you can say it's been borrowed by other nations or other nations were necessarily of the same view, else they would not exist. They're of the same view of what we call ethics, which is something that is necessary to bind the people together to survive. And they survive against people that do not have such inclination and tendency. I think it's the case that behind it all that I've been referring to in this recording is something of the understanding of what a person is, what life is. But it's in dimensions that don't present obviously to us compared to what we are preoccupied with, namely the material world. It's something much more what we imagine or try to grasp as the thought world, mental world, the dream situation of realities. And the principles and beliefs, or values rather, that are clearly necessary in successful living and in happy living. I mean, or living at all that survives must have it. We don't understand what life is, what personhood is, and it's of that that we must worship. By definition, to survive, to be. If we weren't of that, if that wasn't in our very fibre, we would not exist. We could not have come into existence. In other words, there is this essence of personhood, of life eternal. Where the truth of the matter of who we are, what life is, and what thought is too, that is fundamental to existence, our existence or anything else's existence. And we, at all levels, tap into that, or should I say, orientate ourselves more successfully by recognition of such in terms of being Father, the very foundation from which we arise to be. So, simple religions that see God as the creator of all, and sustainer, and possibly the destroyer in the case of the Hindu view, in order to have new life, that change, the destroyer is really to say change. Change is both a creation and a destruction, increasingly, of what was before. A new order implies the death of an old. You could say it changed gradually into it, but I die daily to achieve it, in part. To understand, to know thyself, or to focus totally on God, and that to know God is life eternal, or the truth will set you free into life. Is all of this. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Well, it's 3:06 in the morning, 3:07 now. It's a Wednesday morning, first Wednesday in January 2021. I've got my little girl laying here beside me asleep, her elbows on my shoulder. She's turned the other way. Can't even hear her breathing, completely still. And it's still dark outside. And I'm wide awake. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Thank you for these thoughts. It's not that I can't imagine you. It's that I can't imagine myself. The reality of me behind this material performance that we're in here in the material creation. But I and you and all of us are that which is incredible beyond the manifestation here of the universe, and my goodness, that's pretty incredible itself. Love you, Father. And though I put it in this language with this symbology, in my childish way, I'm reaching out to a reality beyond my comprehension. At present, love you. Love you, Heavenly Father.